Ben touched on there the CSDR, dreaded CSDR penalties and things like that. A consideration we have to think about. Do you think they'll be materially impactful to the market overall?
I mean, I think the CSDR regime is something that we have in Europe that doesn't exist in the US from an ETF perspective. I think looking at the migration to D+1, my personal opinion is that it would have been prudent to have an unconditional suspension of CSDR penalties for a period of time around that migration date. We may still end up there. We may not know whether or not there's going to be a suspension of CSDR penalties until close to the migration, or if not, after the migration date itself. So I guess we'll have to see how impactful it is, whether we do see a spike in fail rates or not. Still TBD. I think having the CSDR regime in place, you can argue, does help create better settlement discipline. But I think during the migration period, there's obviously going to be a lot of upheaval for the industry and the ecosystem, and having a suspension there would have just given the industry some breathing room. So it'll be interesting to see where we land when we get to the migration. I think if we do the work that we're intended to do as an industry, and we have broad alignment, we can work on some of those inefficiencies that we mentioned. I think that CSDR penalties don't have to be impactful as we go through the migration process. It can still be additive to the overall ecosystem, but it is something that I think we'll need to keep a close eye on, because what we don't want to be is in a position where we're having a lot of operational change throughout the migration process, as well as a CSDR regime that starts to prevent liquidity through adding additional cost burden on top of that operational burden. So it will be something that we'll have to pay close attention to and maybe adapt to as the industry requires it.
So last minute suspensions are less than helpful in this regard.
Yeah, having a little bit of understanding of where we were going to land and upfront, I think, would have been beneficial. There may not be a suspension, and we may adapt to the environment, and the migration may be completely successful, and we don't see spikes in fail rates. We may not need any suspension. However, it would have been good on two fronts. One, you get a little bit more operational breathing room as you go through the migration process, but then also it allows you to kind of stop and take stock of, do we feel like the CSDR regime in itself is adding value to the ecosystem? Is it in itself improving settlement discipline? Is it helping brokers adhere to better settlement practices? Or would we be better off without it in a kind of self-policing environment? Would that be enough to improve settlement discipline in itself? So I think it would have been an interesting exercise, but I guess we'll need to wait and see now where we land over that migration period itself.
I guess we'll see where we land. I know that the industry committee in the EU, looked at it, and it is being analysed by the Commission co-legislators around a potential pause of the regime over the go live. So I think we'll have to see where we land. I mean, I think I would prepare that it's not going to happen, and that we will get that CSDR will continue. I know that the mechanics of it are being looked at anyway, how it works today, but we should, I think, as a community, we should prepare that it's that it's going to continue. And I think, and those that don't prepare well are going to feel the pinch, right? It's as simple as that. If you need some, if there's a break, or if there's not a break. If there is a break, it'll only be temporary, I would imagine. So, you need to make sure that you're preparing well. And I would suggest that you look at, and they're quite well documented, the biggest reasons for CSDR fines. It's inventory management. If you've not got the stock or the cash to settle the transaction, then you're gonna have a problem. Data quality, missing information, missing SSIs. Unmatched trades is a big one. New issues as well. It comes up time and time again around, the issuer not giving information out to the market timely enough. So that, that could be something that we need to look at. Counterparty behaviour is another one. So again, that's communication. You need to make sure that you're communicating with your counterparts, monitoring them, metrics, all the rest of it. And then non-STP processes. There's still a big chunk of the market that use spreadsheets for various things. And that as we compress that settlement cycle, it's just not going to work. So yeah, so I would say, prepare for the worst.
Sure. Duck and cover for now.
Yeah.
Ginny, just to add in there, I think, none of us want to paint a negative picture here, but I'd like to just credit everyone for their work behind the scenes in trying to, not having to rely on regulation or whatever, but to, clean our own shops and so forth and make sure things are as efficient as they can be. There's a phenomenal amount going on, whether it's through the UK Accelerated Settlement Taskforce, whether it's through the EU. People like Ben and so forth have done a phenomenal job so far.
Sure, definitely. And hopefully this will be part of educating that market about all the things that you can do.